Whew. Let's get right into it. It's episode 603 of the Sold Not For Sale podcast. And what we got today is Tucker Carlson talking about Trump. More defending Trump, and masterfully, I might add. He's getting into a topic which is, why do they hate Trump so much? And we all know who they is. They is the deep state. They is the Democratic Party. They is the Biden administration. We all know the they that hates Trump so much. But why? Tucker breaks that down perfectly. Then we have a clip of CNN getting a taste of what exactly Tucker's talking about. Now, I'm not going to spoil what Tucker's going to say, but I'm going to show you that clip of CNN, and they get such a good taste of it as they talk to the man who actually processed Trump's mugshot and fingerprints. Very, very surprising clip. You couldn't expect what this man's about to say. And then we go into Trump sitting down with someone from MSNBC. My apologies. And what he has to say there. It's just two perfect examples of why they hate Trump. And one stems from hate and one stems from love. It's a great one. There's some great clips here. Trust me. We're gonna do Tucker masterfully breaking things down first. Then we're gonna go on to the CNN. Then we're gonna go on to the MSNBC. All right. But before we do, of course, I got to bring you to the store. This is IamCoachColin.com, and we got the Soul Not For Sale shirt. A bold statement. Make your bold statement. Your soul is not for sale. And we have the Public Enemy #1 shirt. Of course, Google the World Economic Forum. You'll understand quickly why this gentleman is Public Enemy #1. And also the Certified Pure Blood shirt for those of you that survived the pandemic unscathed, untainted, strong-minded, strong-willed, didn't back down. Congratulations. Get your certificate of achievement with this shirt or hoodie. All of that's available at IamCoachColin.com. And if you want 10% off, all you have to do is put in the discount code IamCoachColin. That's it. No spaces. All one word. All capital letters, every single one, and one L in the name Colin, and that gets you 10% off. And if you've done that with us already, thank you so much. Your support means everything to us. Now let's get into this first clip. Tucker Carlson, ladies and gentlemen.
There's a reason in the order. It's not just that it's nice to say what you think, and that it's essential to human dignity to be able to express what you really believe, though that is true. You cannot be a full citizen if you can't say what you think. You are instead a slave. If you're not allowed to say what you think, you are not a citizen, you are a slave. It's that simple. And you don't need physical shackles because you have them in your head already. So that is all true. But that's not why they're trying to control what you say. They're trying to control what you say because they know that if you say it, nothing will ever be the same. And this is exactly why they hate Trump. And it's not an endorsement of Trump, but it's just interesting since I've known, I've watched the whole Trump saga, and I've had various feelings at various times. I've been incredibly frustrated by Trump because honestly, who couldn't be? And then other times I've been totally inspired and excited. But the whole time I'm watching Trump, I'm thinking to myself, the core question which no one ever asks, which is, why do they hate him so much? Honestly, why do they hate Trump so much? It's the talking. It's the talking. It's not because Trump's program is so radical. Are you joking? If this were 1985, he'd be like a center-left liberal. It's not radical at all. That's fascism? Are you joking? No. No, it has nothing to do with what he does. It has everything to do with the fact that for whatever reason, his brain is not entirely controlled by the people in charge. And because he's not entirely controlled, well, first of all, it tells you that everybody else is entirely controlled. If, Trump is the one they hate the most, what did Trump do wrong? I mean, you could say, oh, well, he's orange or whatever. Okay, fine. But, has he really committed a crime so severe that we should send him to prison for the rest of his life? That's insane. And half the Republicans in Washington, probably closer to about 95%, would be very psyched if he went to prison for the rest of his life. So Why is that? I'll tell you exactly why. I know, because I've watched this really carefully from Washington for his entire term, and then the subsequent 3 years. They hate Trump because they fear Trump. And they fear Trump not because of what he might do, but because what he might say. And at any moment, Trump might be autistic enough to tell the truth about what's actually happening. Whoa, wait, what's that? I was in DC when this started, and Trump had the greatest line I've ever heard. And no one even noticed it except me, because I spent my life in Washington, but he was having some debate, and somebody said something about NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, post-war, to prevent the Soviets from invading Western Europe. And Trump goes, "What's the point of NATO?" And I remember thinking, what a stupid question. What's the point of NATO? Everyone knows the point of NATO. It's to prevent the Soviets from invading Germany. But I was like, but there are no more Soviets. That ended in 1991. So what is the point of NATO? That's actually, then I was thinking to myself, because I had been living in DC, so I was captured by the groupthink that does capture you if you live in a place long enough. I remember my wife, who grew up outside Detroit, being like, why would anyone buy a Japanese car? That's insane. She just grew up here. To this day, she would never have a foreign car. What? They can't really be better. You're a product of the world you live in. So I'd never thought of what's the point of NATO? And Trump said that, and I remember thinking, well, that's an entirely fair question. I'm sure there's a good answer. Anybody? No one could answer it. And instead they attacked him like he was Hitler. And I remember thinking, why are you mad at him for asking what turns out to be a totally legitimate question? And maybe you've got a good answer. What is it? Shut up! Oh, shut up. That's your answer? Really? And it was that kind of thing. And it was the fear that he might say one of 1,000 things that you're not allowed to say, which is pretty much everything at this point. And by the way, I'll stop at this and take your hostile questions. But if you want to know, and I'm being completely sincere, what's true, the true things are the things that you can't say. I cannot remember the last time someone in public life.
Man, Tucker Carlson going in for Trump. That was amazing. Amazing. Now, very true. Very true. Now, the only thing I disagree with, you don't got to be autistic to honestly be saying things like this, to be questioning authority. It's a natural instinct when things aren't right. If you turned on this channel and I had a red nose on and I had a wig on and eye makeup and contact lenses and made my eyes look blue, you'd be like, what's going on here? You don't gotta be, you just gotta be a person to look and just be like, this doesn't seem right. What's going on here? And that's what Trump's done time and time again. And the real reason, now Tucker's right. It is the fact that he keeps talking. It is the fact that he keeps questioning things, but it's as he questions things. Tucker even says this. He says this perfectly. What happened when Trump asked that question? Tucker asked himself that question. That's where the issue is. That if you're on a large enough platform, if you're in a large enough position of power, a strong position of power, and you question some stuff, millions of people are going to question it as well. And the thing about it is, when people start questioning things, we come to our own answers. Not everybody's going to come to the answer that Trump has when he questions something, but everybody's going to come up with their own. Some people are going to lump together and be like, this is why. Some people are going to come here. Some people are going to be off on these little islands of thought, but everybody's going to be questioning things. And now all of a sudden, the narrative that you've presented is being poked by multiple trains of thought. Not just Trump's, not just Tucker's, not just mine, everybody's, right? That's where the issue comes in. That's a big issue. You can't have that. You can't have everybody questioning the narrative in different ways. Maybe one way, because now you can just combat it, now it's my train of thought versus your train of thought. But when there's 50 different trains of thought and every citizen wants answers, now you have a real issue. But now, one thing that Tucker said in this, he says, when saying what you think, if you can't say what you think, it makes you a slave. That's very true. And that's also another thing to bring up with Trump. Like when he starts saying what he thinks, not only does it wake everybody up, but it also feels bad for the other politicians who are completely controlled and can't say what they want. As soon as they hear someone saying what they want in the same type of positions that they're in, they're like, what is it? I can't say what I want. Why can he? Hold on. I thought we all had this agreement where we had to listen to these shadow people. What's going on right now? Who's this guy? Why does he get to say whatever? Because if he's saying whatever he wants, I want to say whatever I want. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's a billionaire. He doesn't have these huge donors and he's not taking money from here and there. And it's like, and the next thing you know, it's like, well, if I can't say whatever I want and he can, well, then let's attack him. Let's stop this, because this is reminding me of how I should be. And I don't want to be reminded of that. I don't want that shame brought upon me because I took all that money in that dark alley, because I signed up for that agreement with that dark entity. It's something. Now let's get to the CNN clip. Let's get to the CNN clip really quick. Now this woman, I don't know who this woman is, but she was the first woman that I ever saw in mainstream news where everything clicked and I was like, oh, this is fake. This stuff is fake. Because she was looking at the camera and she was looking with these eyes and she was like making these emotional eyes. And I'm like, why is there so much emotion on this reporter's face? I'm like, what is this? And I realized, I'm like, she's trying to make me think a certain way. That's what happened. I was like, why is she, like, look at her. I'm like, why is she trying to make me think a certain way? Why is she trying to make me feel a certain way? I didn't like it at all. And I remember from that day, I was still living at my mom's house back then. And I was like, Mom, I'm not watching this anymore. I was done with it. But what you're about to see is a little clip here. This gentleman right here is the man who processed Trump. He was there. He was in charge. He made sure Trump was treated just like everybody else. But what he has to say about the experience is not what this woman was expecting to hear. We got a black guy. He's from Atlanta. We're talking about Donald Trump. You expect to hear certain things. You expect him to feel a certain way. Oh man, this is why they hate Trump. Let's get into this.
President Trump's entire booking process. You and I had spoken before, and you were adamant that Trump would be treated like any other defendant, and you did that. That included his mugshot, something that had not occurred in his other indictments. You were there with him in your jail. What was that like for you? How could you describe his demeanor as he was being booked?
Well, I will tell you, having been in law enforcement for 32 years, having been in a jail environment equally as long, it was eerily quiet when you have that many security protocols in place. I will tell you, he came out, he was very stoic, really in a space that he was able to really lean on what we were doing, what we planned. And so we took his mugshot, took his fingerprints as we would anybody else. And ultimately, we arranged for his bond paperwork to be brought to the motorcade so that we could get him in and off the premises as quickly as possible.
It's interesting when you describe his demeanor as stoic, that it was eerily silent. When you went through all that, the mugshot, the fingerprinting, did he say anything? Did he have any conversation, or was he silent?
No, he was pretty silent. We spoke. Our team gave very clear instructions. He took the mugshot and like anybody else, took his fingerprints. And again, he was in and out pretty quickly.
And then no issue with any of it? I mean, not that he could have, but I mean, he was, in terms of his face, as you say, it was stoic. There was no expression.
No, it was, again, eerily silent. And really, it was, for me, on a personal level, it was heartbreaking to see someone of that stature and who represents our country in that fashion having to go through this. But again, the women and men of the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, both our sworn and professional team, very, very, very professional, and making sure that we follow through, not only with our commitment to serve our community, but really focus on the job at hand and get the former president out.
It's interesting how you describe it as heartbreaking, because it's, I think, important for people to remember that it should be for everybody in this country. Trump did, of course, when he walked out, He grabbed that mugshot and ran with it, proverbially. Said he raised $7 million in just a few days. He, put out T-shirts and coffee mugs with the image, right? He owned it. He owned it, and he used it to raise a lot of money. And then he said this about it.
I think the fake indictment that they did in Georgia was very helpful, and then they insisted on a mugshot, and somehow it turned out to be very iconic.
Sheriff, in retrospect.
Oh man, he was stoic. It was heartbreaking for him, and then on top of it, exactly to Tucker's point, this gentleman won't stop talking. He just decides, you know what? It was actually a fake indictment. And you know what? It was actually pretty iconic. And you can tell he's having a little laugh. He's having a little smile on his face as he's talking about how iconic it is. Just beautiful. Beautiful. This woman, this lady right here did not see this coming. She did not see this coming. I can't even get a picture with her eyes open. She did not see this coming at all. Because when this gentleman says, personally, it was heartbreaking, you can tell that man is more than likely a Trump supporter. More than likely. For him to say that it was heartbreaking, because you could just be like, he could have just said nothing just now. He's in an interview. He doesn't have to say anything. But instead, he was like, for me personally, he didn't have to say personally, but he made sure to let people know. Like for him as a man, it was heartbreaking to have to process President Trump. Oh man, CNN got a taste. They get a taste. Everybody gets a taste. This is why they hate him so much. Let's go on to the MSNBC clip. This lady right here, she is speaking with President Trump, and again, to Tucker's point, this man will not stop talking. Let's go.
President, if you were reelected, would you pardon yourself?
I could have pardoned myself. Do you know what? I was given an option to pardon myself. I could have pardoned myself when I left. People said, would you like to pardon yourself? I had a couple of attorneys that said, you can do it if you want. I had some people that said it would look bad if you do it, because I think it would look terrible. I said, here's the story. These people are thugs, horrible people, fascists, Marxists, sick people. They've been after me from the day I came down the escalator with Melania. And I did a great job as president. People were acknowledged. Great economy, great jobs, great this, great that. Rebuilt the military, Space Force, everything. I could go on forever. Let me just tell you. I said, the last thing I'd ever do is give myself a pardon. I could have given myself a pardon. Don't ask me about what I would do. I could have, the last day, I could have had a pardon done that would have saved me all of these lawyers and all of these fake charges, these Biden indictments. They're all Biden indictments, political. They indicted. They want to arrest their political opponents. Only third world countries do that, banana republics. So, ready? I never said this to anybody. I was given the option. I could have done a pardon of myself. You know what I said? I have no interest in even thinking about it. I never even wanted to think about it. And I could have done it. And all of these questions you're asking me about the fake charges, you wouldn't be asking me, because it's a very powerful thing for a president. I was told by some people that these are sick lunatics that I'm dealing with. Give yourself a pardon. Your life will be a lot easier. I said, I would never give myself a pardon.
Even if you were reelected in this moment?
Well, I think it's very unlikely. What did I do wrong? I didn't do anything wrong. You mean because I challenged an election, they want to put me in jail?
Dateline, Missing in America, and
I got too excited. Oh, man. So that was beautiful. Beautifully said by President Trump. Again, he will not stop talking. And one thing that he uncovered that's wild, that he just said, I don't know if you caught it. He could have pardoned himself, but he didn't want to. Now, it's a valiant thing, you know. It's great, good-hearted, you know. Like, I'm not going to pardon myself. I don't want to do that. A lot of integrity in that. But also, what does it do? It actually exposes. How much has been exposed since he's been indicted this many times? If he pardoned himself and said, oh, I pardoned myself because Biden would have indicted me a bunch. He would have, like, when I run again, he would have tried to imprison me, like all this stuff. People would have been like, you're crazy. What are you talking about? But because he didn't pardon himself, so much more has been exposed. And I have to say, from the day he started running to today, he has awakened so many people to how much fixing this system needs. When he said he's going to drain the swamp, people were like, what swamp? And now those same people, they're saying, what swamp? Whether you're on the left or the right, you know what the swamp is. You can see it. You can smell it. You know it's there. Tucker Carlson perfectly broke it down. I don't know if you see it, but I see it. This gentleman will not stop talking. And those clips that I just showed you are why he's so hated. You see a black man from Atlanta saying that it's heartbreaking to have to process this man. You see Trump calling these people lunatics, Marxist, just calling things out. It's beautiful to see. If you haven't liked the episode already, like the episode. If you haven't subscribed already to this channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, because we're making 1 to 3 videos a day. And I don't know many other people doing that. All right. Other than that, I am out. 2024.